Subscribe for more.
I always believed betrayal would arrive loudly, with shouting, tears, and slammed doors. I never imagined it would come quietly, on a random Tuesday night, with my phone buzzing in my hand and my wife asleep 10 feet away. My name is Grant. I'm 43, born and raised in Ohio, the kind of man who believes in handling things privately. I had been married to Lauren for 11 years. Or at least, that's what I thought I had that night. Lauren had fallen asleep on the couch, her head tilted awkwardly, one arm hanging down. Her phone was on the coffee table, screen lighting up every few minutes with notifications. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't suspicious. I just wanted the buzzing to stop so I could carry her to bed. When I picked up the phone, the screen unlocked automatically. My thumb froze. A message preview sat at the top. It wasn't her sister. It wasn't a coworker. It was a man named Owen. The message said, "I miss you already. Today was perfect." I stood there longer than I want to admit, staring at that sentence like it might rearrange itself into something harmless. It didn't. I scrolled. I shouldn't have, but I did. There were weeks of messages, hotel plans, inside jokes, photos she'd never sent me. I felt something shut off inside my chest, like a breaker flipping. No explosion, no rage, just silence. I set the phone back exactly where it was. I didn't wake her. I didn't confront her. I didn't cry. I went into the kitchen and poured myself a glass of water, even though my hands were shaking badly. That night, I lay in bed beside her, listening to her breathe, realizing I was married to someone I no longer recognized. The next morning, Lauren acted normal, cheerful, even. She asked if I wanted eggs or oatmeal. She kissed my cheek before work. I watched her move around the kitchen and wondered how long she'd been lying to my face with that same smile. I nodded, said eggs, and drank my coffee. At work, I didn't tell anyone. I didn't call my best friend. I didn't punch a wall. I opened my laptop, answered emails, and let the day pass. Around noon, I pulled out my phone and opened her messages again. I found Owen's profile. Same city, same gym she'd suddenly started going to. Married status set to single. I clicked his name and stared at the empty message box. I thought about all the things I could say, all the threats, all the accusations. But none of them felt right. Anger felt too easy. I wanted clarity. So I typed, "Hey Owen, this is Grant, Lauren's husband." The typing bubble appeared almost immediately, then disappeared, then reappeared. Finally, a message came through. I didn't know she was married. That was a lie. I didn't call him out on it. I simply replied, "You know now." After a pause, he sent, "I'm sorry." I typed one last message. "This ends today." That evening, Lauren came home late. Said traffic was bad. Said she was exhausted. I listened, nodded, asked how her day was. She talked about coworkers, the gym, a new trainer. I noticed she didn't use names. That night, when she fell asleep, I didn't touch her. Not out of spite, out of distance. Something fundamental had shifted. The woman beside me felt like a stranger renting space in my life. Over the next week, I didn't change my behavior. I didn't withdraw money. I didn't pack a bag. I observed. I listened. I watched how often she checked her phone. Every detail felt like confirmation. On Friday night, she said she was meeting friends for drinks. I said okay. When she left, I sat alone in the living room, surrounded by photos and furniture that now felt counterfeit. I realized I didn't need more proof. When she came home, slightly tipsy, she tried to curl up next to me. I stood up instead. She looked confused. "What's wrong?" she asked. I said calmly, "I know about Owen." Her face drained of color. She opened her mouth, then closed it. I didn't give her space to explain. I said, "I'm not interested in excuses." She cried. She said it was a mistake. She said it didn't mean anything. I listened. When she finished, I said, "If you loved me, this wouldn't exist." I slept in the guest room. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Not out of revenge. Out of respect for myself. I began the process quietly, without drama. Lauren tried to bargain. I remained polite, distant, final. I didn't contact Owen again. I didn't need to. He wasn't the reason my marriage ended. He was just the confirmation. The real betrayal was how easily she replaced me while I was still showing up. I left 2 weeks later. No shouting, no scenes, just boxes, signatures, and silence. Walking out, I didn't feel broken. I felt awake. What surprised me most wasn't losing her, but how quickly my body adapted once the decision was made. I slept deeper. I ate better. The constant tension I'd mistaken for normal life slowly dissolved. Friends noticed before I mentioned anything. They said I looked lighter, like I'd put something heavy down without realizing how much it weighed. I didn't correct them. Some losses aren't meant to be explained. They're meant to be accepted, processed, and left behind without ceremony or applause. I learned that closure doesn't come from conversations or apologies. It comes from action, from drawing a line you refuse to step back over, even when nostalgia whispers and loneliness tries to negotiate terms. Self-respect finally became louder than hope ever was.